The sky was still black when Marcus Rivera pulled into the parking lot of Megatoy's warehouse. His breath came out in clouds, and the frost on his windshield hadn't even begun to melt. It was December 23rd, what some parents called the real Hunger Games of the holiday season. He wasn't there to buy a dozen things. He only needed one, the RoboMoose X200, the top-of-the-line animatronic toy that danced, spoke 5 languages, and fired confetti from its antlers. His daughter Bella had asked Santa for it in a letter that made Marcus tear up when she signed it. Only if it's not too much trouble for Santa's wallet. He'd been out of work since July. Times were tight, but she didn't know that. She was 8. Christmas was supposed to be magical, not filled with bills and worry. So here he was for 45 a.m. Folding camp chair slung over one shoulder, coffee thermos in the other, gloves mismatched. As he approached the already forming line, a guy in a Denver Broncos hoodie nodded. "You here for the moose?" Marcus nodded. "Yeah, you think they'll have enough?" They said 10. 10 per store. 10. The line already had 7 people. Marcus set up camp behind a bundled-up mom and her teenage son. Everyone seemed on edge, but friendly parents sharing thermoses and stories. Someone passed around a box of stale donuts. It felt like a weird little holiday club. Hours crawled. The sun peeked over the horizon. Cars trickled into the lot. At exactly 7:41 a.m., a black Cadillac Escalade pulled up fast and crooked, nearly clipping a shopping cart rack. Out stepped her white fur-lined boots, designer coat too thin for real winter, and a peppermint latte in one hand that she held like a prop. She had flawless makeup, diamond earrings, and an aura of self-importance that seemed to demand attention. She paused in front of the line, as if puzzled that others even existed. "Is that Karen?" the guy in the Broncos hoodie whispered. She sauntered past them, ignoring the line. Not a glance, not a word. Marcus blinked. "Excuse me, mum, the line's back here." She turned slowly, flashing a smile like a practiced politician. "Oh, I'm not waiting in that. I have a VIP pass." She reached into her bag and produced a crumpled, laminated card that looked suspiciously like a homemade gym membership. "My husband's a corporate attorney. We know the district manager. This doesn't apply to me." Everyone in line looked at each other. "VIP pass," Marcus said, stepping slightly forward. "This isn't a club, this is Megatoy's." Smile vanished. "Are you seriously harassing a mother right before Christmas?" A mom to spots up, said gently, "We've all been waiting here since before sunrise." "It's not about harassment, it's about fairness." Karen turned her back on all of them and marched toward the entrance, muttering something about entitled people and not my fault you don't network. The group buzzed. Someone pulled out a phone and began recording. Marcus sighed, watching her wedge herself directly in front of the doors. He clenched his jaw. He didn't want a confrontation, he just wanted the toy. But there was no way he'd let some self-centered stranger ruin his daughter's Christmas knot without doing something about it. Because what Karen didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Marcus had spent the last 6 months fixing problems no one else could solve. This wouldn't be any different. And he wasn't alone. What happened next? That's when the real chaos began on Karen's morning of holiday. Joy turned into a nightmare of her own making. The double doors of Megatoy's warehouse opened exactly at 8 a.m., and the temperature outside suddenly didn't matter anymore. Inside those doors, behind the layers of plastic snowflakes and jingling music, sat 10 brand new RoboMoose X2000s, X2000s X1 tagged. Stacked and waiting to be claimed. Karen bolted inside like she was storming a castle, clutching her latte in one hand and her oversized handbag like a battering ram in the other. Her boots clacked against the tile as she zeroed in on the seasonal toy aisle. Behind her, the real line surged forward till the store staff yelled, "Please walk. No running. First come, first served." Marcus, who'd been 5th in line, jogged in with the others. But just as he reached the carpeted section near the electronics, he felt something hard slam against his shin. It was Karen's bag. He stumbled forward and hit the ground. His thermos went skidding across the floor. Karen didn't even turn around. "Watch where you're going," she muttered without missing a step. A teenage employee rushed over. "Sir, are you okay?" Marcus gritted his teeth and stood up. "Fine, thanks." He scanned the aisle. Karen was already at the display, her hands on the last RoboMoose box. "Excuse me," Marcus called, walking fast now. "You shoved me." Karen held the box tight. "I didn't lay a hand on you. And I got here first." Just because you people don't understand how to be efficient, we've been in line since before sunrise. Marcus snapped. A small crowd gathered. Some parents were holding plush toys and video games. But all eyes were on Karen and the Robo-Moose. An older dad with a Santa hat chimed in. You skipped everyone and tripped the guy. That's not winning. That's dirty. Karen looked around, suddenly realizing multiple phones were recording her. I don't have time for this, she huffed. My son deserves this toy. He's been through a lot. His therapist said this would help his emotional regulation. A woman behind her asked, and what about our kids? What's your excuse for cutting the line? Karen gave a theatrical sigh, flipped her hair, and stormed toward checkout, clutching the box like it was made of gold. Marcus didn't follow. He could have shouted, he could have argued. But right then, he remembered something Tina once told him. Tina, his best friend since college, now a robotics engineer. They'd gone separate ways after graduation, but they still kept in touch. Last week she'd casually mentioned working on a firmware update for a popular holiday toy. Robo-Moose. Marcus pulled out his phone and started typing fast. Not a complaint, not a social media rant, but a text. Tina, you said Robo-Moose has a glitch. How bad is it? As the line began to settle, the other parents consoled one another with jokes about Christmas chaos. Marcus checked out with a stuffed moose, not the Robo-Moose second best. Still, he had a plan now. He left the store with a smile. Meanwhile, Karen posed in the parking lot, her son pouting in the passenger seat while she live-streamed, herself holding the box like she'd won the Super Bowl. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do Christmas, she said into the camera, before ending the stream with a smug wink. But what she didn't know, what no one knew, was that the Robo-Moose in her trunk was one of the glitchy pre-release models that had a minor flaw, a flaw that Marcus was just now learning about from Tina's reply. Yup, units shipped early by mistake. If it hears yelling, it reboots and says creepy stuff. Not dangerous. Just embarrassing. Why? Marcus stared at his screen and slowly grinned, because if there was one thing Karen was guaranteed to do, it was yell, and now she'd do it while live streaming. Karen Hensley's holiday brunch was the talk of her HOA. At least according to Karen. She'd spent the morning blasting Christmas jazz through Bluetooth speakers, stacking plates of croissants from Whole Foods on silver trays, and bragging on every platform she could about the exclusive toy she'd snagged with a little persuasive charm. But what really lit up her ego was the Robo-Moose X2000, now proudly displayed on a table in the center of the room. She didn't even bother wrapping it. The box itself was positioned like a trophy, half open, just enough for the neighborhood moms to catch a glimpse. He's been so brave. My little Brayden, Karen cooed dramatically as she waved a mimosa glass toward her stone-faced 9-year-old. He deserves the best. Not like those poor children whose parents waited in line like sheep. She laughed loudly. Brayden, slouched in a chair and barely interested, stared at his iPad. Across the room, a mom named Michelle raised an eyebrow. Didn't I see a video of you online? Looked like a line-cutting situation. Karen's smile froze for a split second before she brushed it off. Fake news. Besides, I had a pass. In the kitchen, her housekeeper tried to unwrap the Robo-Moose box, but Karen rushed over. No, I'll do it. This isn't just a toy, it's a statement. She popped open the box, pulled out the Robo-Moose, and placed it upright on the coffee table. The plush toy had LED eyes, robotic legs, and glossy plastic antlers. Karen grabbed the remote and turned it on. With a whir and a chime, the Robo-Moose came to life. Its head turned, eyes flashed, and it cheerfully blurted, "Let's spread joy and toss some snow." The crowd clapped lightly. Karen beamed. Isn't he adorable? Cost more than your electric bill, I bet. But just as she turned her back to pour another mimosa, the toy glitched, its head twitched to the side, and the LED eyes flickered red. Mommy said, "Shut your mouth," it said in a robotic voice. Everyone paused. Karen turned, laughing awkwardly. It's not supposed to say that. Must be a voice mix-up. The Robo-Moose jerked again. No yelling, or I'll call the elf police. Laughter bubbled around the room. Karen's face flushed. She pressed the remote. Nothing. She pushed the button again harder. The moose spun around suddenly and launched a tiny confetti blast straight into her mimosa. The kids erupted with laughter. The adults tried to contain theirs. What is wrong with this thing? Karen snapped, waving the wet glass in the air. Robo-Moose turned to her. Calm down, Karen. It's Christmas. Dead silence. Karen blinked. What did it just say? Michelle's husband pulled out his phone. I think it said your name. Is it A? It must be broken, Karen barked. This is defective. A lawsuit waiting to happen. That's when Braden, who hadn't looked up from his tablet all morning, finally smiled. This is the best toy ever. Karen grabbed the moose and stomped toward the kitchen. Where's the manual? I need to reset this. Now. But just as she reached the counter, the moose spoke again, louder this time. Mommy says, screaming, makes her look unhinged. That did it. A neighbor with 15,000 TikTok followers was already live. I'm at Karen's Christmas brunch and her toys reading her entire life out loud. The clip took off online like a sled on an icy hill. By the time the guests finished their second round of mimosas, the video had over 20,000 views. Karen stormed outside, still holding the robo-moose. She slammed it onto the patio table. This is a defective toy behind her. The voice calmly said, throw me again, and I'll post your internet history. The guests roared with laughter. Braden laughed too. For once, and from his apartment across town, Marcus watched it all unfold. From the TikTok For You page, he grinned. Tina had come through. By Christmas Eve morning, Karen Hensley's social media presence had transformed from aspirational suburban mom to viral chaos magnet. The video of her Robo-Moose meltdown had passed 3 million views overnight. Every corner of the internet had a nickname for her. Karen, the toy tyrant, Jingle Bell Jerk, and one that really stuck, Moose Mommy Meltdown. She'd had enough. She paced across her spotless kitchen in fuzzy designer slippers, furiously typing on her phone. She wasn't going to be ridiculed by strangers or worse, fellow HOA board members. This is slander, she muttered, dialing a number from the box. A robotic voice answered. Thank you for contacting Future Fun Robotics. To report a product malfunction, press 1. Karen jammed the keypad. I don't want a refund. I want an apology. And someone fired. The call redirected. After several holds and transfers, she finally got someone named Dana, a PR rep. Hi ma'am, Dana said calmly. We've seen the video. Your unit was one of the early release versions. It wasn't meant for public sale. Karen's eyes widened. So you admit your company sold a defective toy. It wasn't supposed to leave the warehouse, Dana explained. A few got shipped by mistake. The AI wasn't fully locked. We're offering a recall. Karen scoffed. A recall? No. I want you to go on record and tell the press this was your fault, not mine. I think the internet already knows the story. Karen froze. That tone. Dana wasn't just apologizing. She was amused. Don't be smug with me, Karen snapped. I'm married to a corporate attorney. We can sue you into next year. Dana sighed. Ma'am, the toy glitched because it responds to yelling. It mimics phrases based on behavioral input. So if it said things that embarrassed you, well, Karen's jaw dropped. You're implying it copied me. That toy is slandering me in my own home. Dana was quiet for a beat. Then, with the kind of smile you can hear through the phone, she replied, Ma'am, it's a moose. Click. Karen stared at her screen. Furious, she looked over at Robo-Moose, now sitting innocently on the fireplace mantel like nothing ever happened. Braden, curled up on the couch, whispered to it. Can you say something bad about mommy again? Robo-Moose turned to him and said, only if she earns it. Karen threw her phone onto the couch. This wasn't just a glitch. This was personal. She had to take control of the story. She needed to spin this before the HOA's Emergency Image Committee meeting that night. If she didn't, her board seat, her status would vanish like tinsel in the wind. So she did what every true HOA Karen does in a time of crisis. She filed a formal complaint to the toy company, to the retailer, to the Better Business Bureau, to the HOA, and bafflingly, to the Federal Aviation Administration, claiming the antlers might interfere with her garage door remote. But the real mistake came when she tried to dig into Marcus Rivera. She found his name tagged in a comment under the original video. LOL, this all started B.C. Karen cut in front of Marcus and tripped him. He should have gotten the toy, not her. She clicked through his profile, bare bones, but professional. Single dad, engineer, and her breath caught former employee of Microbit Robotics, one of Future Fun's partner labs. Suddenly, it all made sense. This was sabotage, she hissed. That man planned this. Fueled by caffeine and delusion, she wrote a 6-page email accusing Marcus of cyberstalking, corporate espionage, and weaponizing children's toys to harass HOA officials. She's CC'd Future Fun, her HOA, and even a local reporter she knew from her Pilates class. What she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that her email wasn't just ignored, it was flagged, because someone at Future Fun did know Marcus, and they remembered a patent he once pitched, one that included AI behavioral mirroring for children's toys. A patent that never made it to market, but was surprisingly similar to what RoboMoose was now doing, back in his apartment. Marcus's phone buzzed. Email from Future Fun Robotics. Hi Marcus, we saw the footage and recognized your name. Are you free to talk? We might owe you more than just a thank you. While Karen scrambled to extinguish her public relations inferno, Marcus Rivera sat at his kitchen table with a lukewarm mug of coffee and the kind of smirk you wear when karma arrives faster than expected. He reread the email from Future Fun Robotics. For the third time, we're aware you may have contributed to the early AI model. Some internal features appear to reflect your behavioral design pitch from 2019. Would you be open to a conversation? The irony wasn't lost on him. The same idea corporate rejected years ago for being too niche for consumer toys had somehow been embedded in the biggest holiday product of the year. He hadn't been credited, of course. But now that the glitchy RoboMoose was headline material and its unexpected truth-telling behavior had gone viral, Future Fun suddenly wanted to talk. He replied with a simple message, happy to chat. Let's make it in person. 2 days later, Marcus found himself inside the sleek downtown Future Fun office. Bright lights, tech everywhere. A full prototype lab, visible through glass walls. And across the table, the very executive who once dismissed his idea now sat looking very eager to collaborate. So, let's be honest, said Marissa Doyle, Director of Innovation Partnerships. We know your behavioral response model made its way into the firmware probably through subcontracted code. We're not here to argue about how it got there. We're here to offer you something. Marcus leaned back, cool and calm. A sincere apology and a check. She smiled. A job. A speaking role at CES next month. A licensing agreement for all future iterations of RoboMoose, and a retroactive co-creator title. He raised an eyebrow. That all sounds nice. But I'm not doing any of that unless we talk about her. Her. He pulled out his phone and played the infamous video. Karen, in all her fury, screaming at a toy moose as it talked back. You know, she's trying to smear me, right? Accused me of sabotage, cyberstalking, and apparently triggering the apocalypse. Marissa didn't even flinch. She's CC'd 12 people, including someone from HR. We've already flagged her as a non-credible complainant. Marcus smiled. And I've got a better idea, he said. Let me handle the Karen problem my way. That evening, Karen stood in her kitchen drafting yet another Sysandicist email, this one addressed to everyone on the internet who won't stop sharing my video. The doorbell rang. She opened it to find a courier with a sleek black box, wrapped in silver ribbon and a red bow. No return address. She tore it open to find a newer, sleeker version of RoboMoose. A note sat on top. This one's updated. AI optimized. Enjoy. The development team, Karen sneered. Finally, a version that won't insult me in front of brunch guests. She powered it on. RoboMoose blinked. Hello, Karen. I missed you. She froze, then it added, don't worry. This version doesn't talk unless spoken to. That's your thing. Her. I twitched, but the voice didn't stop. Would you like to run respect boundaries mode or continue in entitled diva default? Brayden peeked around the corner. Already laughing. Karen was about to throw it in the trash when the moose continued. Before you discard me, remember, the more you scream, the more I stream. Suddenly, the tiny moose blinked twice, and her living room lights dimmed slightly. A hidden camera inside the toy was live streaming directly to a private link. A QR code popped out of the moose's hoof. Private stream, Karen Cam, viewer number 1 online, she screamed back in his apartment. Marcus shut the stream down after 5 seconds. He didn't record. He didn't save. He just wanted to send a message. Play nice, or get played. Karen never replied to Future Fun again. Instead, she retreated from social media and quietly resigned from the HOA board, citing exhaustion from online bullying. Marcus, meanwhile, accepted the licensing deal, donated his first royalty check to a local holiday toy drive, where 300 kids unwrapped brand new, properly updated RoboMooses. The best part, every single unit came pre-programmed with one Easter egg phrase, patience pays off. Just ask Marcus. By New Year's Eve, Karen Hensley's suburban empire was in ruins. The HOA board had accepted her resignation. Her social media followers dropped by the thousands, and every time she ordered a latte at the cafe near her house, someone behind the counter would whisper, "Moose, mommy, meltdown," and stifle a laugh. Her husband, weary from the fallout, had stopped attending functions. With her, even Braden, who used to worship her now, spent most of his time talking to Robomoose, like it was his new therapist. Karen knew she had to act fast before her reputation was permanently shredded. And that's when she had an idea. Redemption by philanthropy. If she couldn't silence the scandal, she'd drown it in charity. So she signed herself up loudly publicly, and without invitation, for a highly televised event called Toys for All, hosted by the city's largest news station and backed by corporate sponsors, including Future Fun Robotics. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus when he saw the press release. "She's crashing that event." Tina laughed on the phone. "You sure? You don't want to intervene?" Marcus just smiled. "Nope. Let the moose do its job." The big day arrived. Hundreds of children filled the convention center, each waiting their turn to receive a brand new Robomoose X300, OTHA fully updated, non-glitchy version. The stage was lit with candy cane banners, and a massive LED screen displayed live footage of the crowd. At exactly 2 p.m., Karen arrived in a floor-length red coat and matching hat, waving like royalty to the confused volunteers. "Who's she again?" whispered one staffer. "Some socialite." "Just smile and let her pose," muttered another. Karen strutted onto the stage, uninvited but undeterred, and yanked a microphone from the hands of a startled MC. "Hello everyone," she beamed. "My name is Karen Hensley, and I'm here to show that giving back is what the holidays are all about. After all, isn't that why we're here?" For the children, a polite, confused smattering of applause followed. Behind her, the event producer frantically whispered into a headset, "Who let her up there?" Karen didn't care. This was her moment. She turned toward a display of unopened Robomoose boxes and gestured dramatically. "As a mother and community leader, I've personally delivered this next Robomoose to a very special boy in the front row." She grabbed the nearest box, tore it open with flair, and powered up the unit live on stage. Lights flashed. The Robomoose twitched to life. Microphones picked up its signature startup phrase, "Hello, I'm Robomoose X300, ready to learn and play." The crowd applauded. Karen posed dramatically beside it. But then something changed. The moose's lead eyes flickered and glowed red. "Override command detected. Loading custom behavior." Karen's smile faltered. What's it doing?" Then, in front of hundreds of parents, dozens of reporters, and a live streaming camera broadcasting to the local station's homepage, Robomoose looked straight up at her and said, "Karen, you said this was for the kids. You lied." Gasps rippled through the audience. Karen's face turned chalk white. "Would you like to continue with public apology mode or damage control denial?" Laughter erupted from the crowd. Karen stepped back, panicked. "Who programmed? This wasn't supposed to. Please stop yelling. You've embarrassed yourself enough today." At that exact moment, the LED screen behind her glitched and displayed her viral meltdown video from Christmas brunch, perfectly timed to sync with the toys dialogue. The MC rushed back to the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, just a small technical hiccup. Let's focus on the actual charity part, shall we?" But it was too late. Karen stormed off the stage, humiliated yet again, swearing under her breath as someone in the crowd shouted, "Maybe the moose should run for HOA president." Backstage, Marcus watched the feed on his phone and shook his head. He hadn't touched that Robomoose. He hadn't programmed anything. But someone else had. Moments later, a message appeared on his phone from an unknown number. "You're not the only one who hated her. RM Dev Team." After the disaster at the televised charity event, Karen Hensley didn't leave the convention center quietly. She marched out with clenched fists, mascara streaking, and a frozen smile that screamed lawsuit loading. Cameras followed her down the steps while she muttered about defamation, corporate sabotage, and AI-based harassment. By the time she slammed her SUV door shut, she already had her lawyer on speed dial. Or rather, her ex-husband's lawyer, since he'd moved out quietly that morning and left behind a post-it note on the fridge that read, "The moose wasn't the problem. You were." Karen didn't cry. Not yet. Not publicly. That wasn't her brand. No, this called for retaliation. Within 24 hours, she launched a full-blown campaign to destroy Marcus Rivera. She posted on Facebook, Nextdoor, Reddit, and even tried to go viral on X, formerly Twitter. accusing him of hacking children's toys using terrorist-level algorithms to manipulate public events. Bullying. A mother who only wanted Christmas joy. She even uploaded grainy screenshots of Marcus at the Megatoys store, labeling him the real villain of Christmas. Unfortunately for her, most of the internet responded with popcorn emojis and comments like, "This lady got beef with a moose and now she's blaming science. Karen girl. Stop before the moose starts live tweeting your therapy sessions." The more she ranted, the worse it got. But something unexpected happened the next day. Marcus got a knock on his apartment door. He opened it to find a well-dressed man in a tailored suit holding a leather briefcase. "Mr. Rivera," the man asked, "I'm here on behalf of Future Fun Robotics Legal. We received notice that you were targeted in an online smear campaign. We'd like to offer support." Marcus blinked. "Wait, you're offering me legal protection?" The man nodded. "Karen Hensley has attempted to implicate you in corporate sabotage. Not only have her claims been discredited, but we suspect she violated several online harassment statutes. Future Fun is now considering formal legal action." Marcus laughed. "This is really happening, huh?" The man opened his briefcase and slid a thick folder across the table. "There's more." The AI team backtracked the behavioral sync logs from RoboMoose units. Turns out someone tried to override the default personalities of the new models. It failed, but we traced the source of the attempt. He flipped to a highlighted page. IP origin, HOA, Clubhouse, Officiosurnum, Karen Hensley _admin intent. Load politeness patch to remove negative feedback programming. She tried to reprogram the moose, Marcus asked, eyebrows raised. Not just reprogram. She tried to make the toys say her HOA title after every line. "Happy Holidays, from President Karen." Stuff like that. Marcus burst into laughter. She may have violated the firmware license, local ordinance laws, and several ethical boundaries. "We're preparing a cease and desist and we'd like to formally distance Future Fun from her entirely." "Good luck with that," Marcus said. "She'll probably sue a traffic cone next." The man paused. "Would you like to go a step further? Join the company officially as a public tech ethics consultant. Help us avoid more Karens in the future." Marcus didn't hesitate. Yes. That night, Karen received a courier envelope at her door. She tore it open, expecting flowers from her ex. Instead, she found a formal cease and desist from Future Fun Robotics. It stated that her tampering, defamation, and repeated slander against Marcus and the company constituted grounds for civil action. If she continued, they would pursue legal damages. Karen didn't scream. She laughed. "Fine, let's go to war." She lit her laptop, created a YouTube channel, and hit record. Her first video was titled, "The Moose, the Manipulator and Me," exposing Marcus Rivera's secret agenda. It had dramatic music, conspiracy theories, and a whiteboard covered in red string, like a detective show gone off the rails. It got 81 views, 76 of them from people she'd blocked. But what Karen didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Marcus had just received an alert from the toy prototype team. A final round of RoboMooses had been dispatched to one location, and due to a shipping error, Karen's address had received 4 of them. And these weren't just toys. They were part of a beta test, programmed for environmental response learning. They were about to spend a week in Karen's home, adapting. For once in her life, Karen Hensley didn't open the boxes right away. The delivery from Future Fun Robotics arrived on a frosty Thursday morning, left on her porch in 4 sleek, black crates with tamper-proof labels and the company's logo printed in silver across the top. At first she thought they were sending a bribe, a peace offering. They must have realized how badly they embarrassed her. "Idiots," she whispered with a smirk. Too little too late. She dragged the boxers inside, barely noticing that each one had a serial number and a warning label. Beta prototype, handle with caution. By evening, the boxers sat opened in her living room. For updated RoboMooses now stood facing outward in a perfect square, silent, blinking, awaiting input. Karen, wrapped in her robe, stared at them suspiciously. "Let's make something clear," she told the toys like a general addressing new troops. "I don't want any glitches, sass, or snarky programming. One weird line and you're going straight to the dumpster." The moose on the left turned its head. Acknowledged. "Karen, we're here to observe and adapt." She blinked. Adapt. The toys didn't respond by morning. Things got weirder. Karen woke up to find all 4 RoboMooses arranged neatly in front of her bedroom door. Not just sitting, standing, their eyes blinked in sync. The antlers glowed softly. Brayden giggled from down the hallway. Mom, did you put them there to scare me? I didn't move them, Karen said, heart skipping. They're not supposed to walk without the remote. We follow stress levels, one said. We gravitate toward conflict. You radiate leadership. Karen didn't know whether to feel flattered or threatened. By noon, the Moose units had started commenting unprompted. Any time Karen raised her voice at Brayden, at a neighbor on the phone, even at the toaster for burning her bagel, they'd respond. Tone check, you sound a little emotionally congested. Rude, detected, initiating conflict diffusal. Is this how a president should behave? She disconnected their batteries. They powered back on an hour later by day 3. Karen had had enough. She stormed into her living room, hair frizzed, robe hanging off one shoulder, and screamed, I want you, out of my house. The moose closest to her turned its head slowly. Karen, this is an intervention. Her jaw dropped. You're not real. You're toys. You don't get to intervene in anything. The 4 toys lit up simultaneously, casting a strange glow across the room. We've observed you, monitored your patterns, calculated your effects on household morale. Conclusion, you are not the victim. Brayden poked his head in from the hallway, wide-eyed. One of the mooses turned to him. Don't worry, Brayden. This is what accountability looks like. Karen shouted, you're malfunctioning again. This is harassment. But then, a voice echoed from a hidden speaker, not robotic, but human. Actually, Karen, you brought this on yourself. She froze. The voice was Marcus's. A flat screen on the wall flickered on. It displayed a live feed. Marcus in a clean office, sipping coffee. He smiled into the camera. Before you freak out, no, this isn't spyware. This is a controlled beta program. The toys were designed to respond to negative environments, and they've done a phenomenal job in yours. Karen's eyes twitched. You're spying on me. Nope. They record interactions only when stress indicators hit dangerous levels, which yours have. 26 times in 3 days. You're violating privacy laws. Marcus raised a hand calmly. You signed the updated usage terms when you opened the box. Page 3, paragraph 5. By activating the unit, the user consents to behavior analysis for emotional development trials. Her knees nearly buckled. And just so you know, Marcus added, this isn't revenge. This is a reality check. You tried to ruin me, publicly humiliate me, and manipulate a company for personal gain. He leaned forward. The difference between us is, I built something people love. You built a reputation people fear. The screen blinked off. Karen looked around. The robo-mooses now surrounded her, eyes softly glowing blue. Would you like to try again? With empathy mode enabled. She collapsed onto the couch, shaking. For the first time in years, Karen Hensley was quiet. 1 month later, Karen had vanished from social media. Rumors swirled. Some said she'd joined a mindfulness retreat in Arizona. Others said she was working retail, under a fake name, in a toy store. Brayden, he was doing better than ever. His grades improved. He smiled more. He even wrote Marcus a thank you letter. Dear Mr. Rivera, thanks for helping me, and Mom. The moose is my favorite friend. Sincerely, Brayden. Marcus pinned it on his new office wall at Future Fun Robotics. And the moose. Now in production globally, with one new catchphrase added just for fun. Patience, kindness, and don't ever cut the line. At Megatoy.